The wall didn't fall, it forgot it was a wall. One moment the reinforced panel was rated for plasma, kinetic, sonic, and shape charge incursion. The next it was a debris cloud hanging in the surgical blue light like a paused exhale. A human silhouette flew through that cloud at 400 meters per second, dual pistols firing in opposite directions while she spun, screaming something that sounded like a pre-industrial cavalry charge. The enemy AI's threat priority algorithm collapsed into a feedback loop trying to model a single hostile it was never designed to recognize. On the observation deck, the predictive overlay flickered green brackets around empty air, still hunting a target that had already stopped existing. What I saw that afternoon changed how we file courage. You'll want to hear the rest. I have logged 11 years of telemetry on this deck. I have never seen a sensor array flatline because it ran out of categories. The story doesn't start with the breach. It starts 2 hours earlier with a clipboard and a four-armed officer who still believed combat could be filed. 2 hours earlier, the Ethel-Sarin training spire hummed in a key the Concordat considers reassuring. I checked my log twice, old habit, the algorithm usually does it for me. The chamber below was 40 meters of cylindrical kill box, lit in surgical blue, the kind of room built by people who believe combat is a math problem. Ionized air, polished bulkheads, a ceiling that apologized for itself. Warden Instructor Bracken Tulverid stood at the intake console. 7 feet of wet slate skin quarried in low gravity, 4 arms, upper eyes that could narrow independently of the lower pair, a carved groove across his sternum marking 31 years of instructor service. His right pair of hands held the data pad, his left pair stayed crossed. He drew his 11-second pre-breath. It was tradition. The recruits synced their HUDs to the predictive grid within 40 seconds, non-negotiable. Their first weapons were calibration plasma pistols because the algorithm had to learn your hand. Bracken opened his mouth to deliver the welcome address. Ren Calloway leaned against a polished bulkhead like it owed her money. Her armor was regulation, her sidearm was not. She was checking the slide on a chemical propellant pistol that looked like it belonged behind glass in a museum of pre-warp curiosities. Carbon-scored knuckles. She never wiped them between sims. I could see that from the deck. She chewed the inside of her cheek, calculating maybe or just bored. Bracken glanced at his data pad the way an accountant double-checks a number that can't possibly be right. He looked at Ren. He checked the pad again. Recruit Calloway, he said, 3-second clause, audible pre-breath. Your sidearm is non-standard. Yes, sir, she said, frontier blunt, wrong-shaped questions. The little arrows make it feel like the gun's babysitting me. Bracken's upper eyes narrowed. His lower pair didn't move at all. Phase 4 is rated for a synchronized 6-trooper element, he said. The system has no scoring rubric for 1. Ren shrugged, then I guess it'll have to improvise. Bracken's jaw set. He swiped the console, not anger, procedure. He was going to teach the primitive a lesson. Lights dropped, hollow targets bloomed across the chamber. Ren didn't link her HUD, she started walking. The grid waited politely for her, then gave up and started scoring her shots manually. She hit 4 targets before the first one finished materializing. The chemical rounds left sulfur tang in the recycled air, old earth gunpowder. The chamber had never smelled like that before. Bracken checked his pad. Round 2, gravity inverted on a 12-second cycle. Ren grinned inside her visor. I saw it on the helmet cam feed. My secondary throat membrane fluffed out like a feather duster trying to escape my neck. I swallowed it down. She wasn't climbing the walls. She was running on them. The chamber wasn't designed to be a playground. She turned it into one. The computer logged her next shot as anomalous. She'd banked 2 rounds off a gravity plate seam and clipped a target behind cover. Indirect fire. The chamber had never registered that scoring event. In the lieutenant's gallery, Sithic Arovel clicked his optical shutter 3 times in a row. Click, click, click. The sound of a machine pretending to blink. Bracken's upper eyes narrowed again, independently, a habit I'd seen 100 times. It meant the algorithm had returned something he didn't have a category for. He authorized Phase 4, lethal-rated sim, reinforced bunker scenario, 1 heavily guarded entry point. He paired her with Lieutenant Sithic, stack and breach Doctrine. Sithic began hand-signaling the approach, nanosecond tactical processing, perfect synchronized logic. Ren was already 10 meters away on the wrong wall, slapping shaped charges onto an unmarked structural panel. Sithic signaled abort 3 rapid clicks. Ren tightened her helmet strap, one hand, slow, the other hand stayed on the charge. She looked like she was getting ready for a jog. She winked. The wall didn't crack, it converted to gas. I'd seen it before. I'd seen it 2 hours from now. The debris cloud hung in the air and she flew through it, screaming, dual pistols firing in opposite directions while she spun. She grabbed Sithik by the harness, shouted go left, and launched herself right. He walked through the smoke. She made herself the target. Knee slide across polished floor, dual firing chemical pistols at every turret and drone. The enemy AI's threat priority model dissolved in real time, trying to track a single hostile that was moving, screaming, and statistically impossible. Sithik, in a perfectly clear lane, neutralized 19 hostiles without raising his weapon above waist height. I realized I'd been holding my breath. My throat membrane was fully extended. I swallowed it down. The chamber went still in pieces. Drones powered down out of order, 3 at once, then 2, then 1 delayed by a half second as its targeting array tried one final pass and found no resolvable solution. The plasma bolt suppression turret hummed down a minor third. On my primary screen, the predictive overlay glitched. Small green priority brackets flickered around empty air, the algorithm still searching. Ren was on one knee in the middle of the chamber, pistols holstered, helmet tilted back, breathing through her teeth. Sithik stood 6 meters behind her, optical shutter clicking rhythmically, recalculating from a baseline that no longer existed. The simulation control panel didn't ping success, it just stopped. The chamber's ambient hum dropped a full octave, the way a room sounds when a song everyone has been hearing for years finally ends. Bracken walked into the chamber, forearms still. He looked at the hole where the wall used to be, he looked at Ren, he looked at his pad. Then he stopped looking at the pad. I wrote in my telemetry log in plain Concordat script the only honest entry I could manage. The algorithm wasn't beat, it was simply not invited. Nobody on the observation deck spoke for 41 seconds. I timed it. It was, I noted, almost exactly the length of the run. Maintenance crews logged 17 incident reports. The shape charge residue had to be scraped from a structural panel rated for none of the damage it received. Manda Veshpo, the previous record holder, quietly removed her thorax medal and put it in her locker. She didn't break the record. She treated the record like a suggestion she hadn't heard correctly. Bracken stood in the debrief room. He did not yell, he did not lecture. 4 arms at his sides, all 4 eyes on Ren. No narrowing now, just flat observation. If our enemies fight like you, he said, we are finished. Ren tilted her head. Your enemies fight like your manuals, that's the problem. Bracken did not answer. He signed the recruitment forms. All 4 hands moved at once. He signed without looking at the screen. The pad had stopped being a tool an hour ago. It was just a witness now, and a poor one. I filed the report that evening. At the bottom of Bracken's addendum, 2 lines. First line, request increased frontier human intake, doctrinal experimental tier. Second line, request hazard pay for all instructional staff above grade 6. Both lines signed with the same pen stroke. I filed it. 3 weeks later, the Manual Revisions Committee convened for the first time in 11 years. The manual would survive the afternoon, it just wouldn't survive her. A chemical propellant pistol sat on the intake console where no recruit had left one. The slide was still warm.